I never thought betrayal would carry the scent of lavender. Yet, that night, as I stepped into our bedroom, the unmistakable fragrance of my mother-in-law's signature perfume overwhelmed me, a scent that had no reason to linger there. I'm Lila, a woman who once believed she had life neatly figured out. But all of that certainty crumbled the moment I noticed the message resting innocently on my pillow. A career perfectly on track, a marriage steady and secure, a future brimming with promise. How fragile it all turned out to be. It's astonishing how a single piece of paper can shatter the illusion of stability. The note was unremarkable in appearance, but the words written in Marjorie's familiar handwriting cut like a blade. Some wives are deserving of their fate. Signed, M. My hands trembled as I clutched the paper, the weight of its meaning sinking in. The house was eerily quiet, save for the faint sound of Ethan's shower running upstairs. Too quiet, almost menacing in its stillness. It was the kind of silence that makes you notice everything. The slight misalignment of the throw pillows on the bed, the drawer by my nightstand left ajar just enough to seem deliberate. "Oh, sweetie," Ethan's voice called out cheerfully from the bathroom. "I didn't think you would arrive home so early. How did the meeting for the merger go?" I tucked the note into my pocket after hastily folding it. "Everything went smoothly," I answered, attempting to speak steadily. "Is your mother here today, Ethan?" The water stopped. A pause occurred, a beat too long. "Mom? Why would she be, though?" I pulled open the drawer by my bed. When I looked through my personal calendar, I noticed faint fingerprints on pages that listed my scheduled appointments and business trips, which was a little out of place. Ethan came out of the restroom with water dripping from his hair and a towel wrapped around his waist. He used to give me such a kind gaze. Guilt. I saw another thing in his eyes now. Worried? Are you certain of that? I could smell her perfume in here, so I pressed while closely observing his expression. It sounded strained, but he chuckled. "Lila, hurry up. You're acting suspiciously. Mom wouldn't just show up here, but she's probably still mad that we skipped Sunday supper." "Really?" As if she hadn't simply dropped by my workplace last week to remind me of my familial responsibilities. Ethan's mouth clenched. "All she's concerned about is us. Regarding our future, perhaps if you weren't so preoccupied with your job—" "Don't," I interrupted him. "Please don't bring up my employment again." Naomi texted me, and my phone buzzed. "In need of an urgent wine night? Recently closed a deal close to you." I turned to face Ethan, who was still standing there with a tiny pool of water at his feet. The thought of his mother snooping through our belongings would have infuriated the man I married 5 years ago. This version simply appeared worn out. I grabbed my purse and stated, "I'm going out. We also need to discuss boundaries when I return. Lila waits." I was already stepping past him when he went for my arm. "Additionally, swap out the sheets." I made a call behind my back. "They have a lavender scent." My thoughts were racing as I drove to see Naomi. The note wasn't merely a warning, it was a war declaration. Marjorie had always expressed her opinion that I was unsuitable for her beloved son. Overly ambitious, too self-reliant, not the conventional wife she had dreamed of. Once more my phone buzzed. My boss Victor did a fantastic job on the merger presentation this time. The board wishes to expedite the expansion. I need the new division to be led by you. Details will be revealed tomorrow. In spite of everything, I smiled. I had finally gotten close to getting the promotion I had been aiming for. However, I couldn't get rid of the feeling that I was going to have to make an impossible decision as soon as I pulled into the wine bar's parking lot. My marriage or my job? With 2 glasses of wine already in her hand, Naomi was waiting outside. She responded, "Oh, honey, what did the witch do now?" After taking one look at my face, I took the message out and gave it to her, declaring war. I answered, "Additionally, I believe my spouse may be supporting her." Victor was waiting for me in my office with a stack of merger documents 3 days after I discovered the note. I felt sick to my stomach at the look on his face. He dropped the documents on my desk and stated, "Someone has been talking to our competitors. The merger's specifics were disclosed. The board is enraged." My thoughts were racing as I sunk into my chair. Those records were only accessible by 5 individuals, and I had great faith in my staff. How awful is it? "It's bad enough that we must hurry. Tomorrow I want you to take a plane. have an in-person meeting with the Singapore team, at least 2 weeks. Ethan, my phone buzzed. I choose to disregard it. I'll see it through, I informed Victor. Perhaps a little distance might help me think more clearly. But the timing couldn't have been worse. That night, Ethan and Marjorie were in the kitchen when I arrived home. Like teens caught in the act of conspiring, they fell silent as soon as I entered. "Lila, sweetheart." Her eyes never met Marjorie's smile. "I recently mentioned this beautiful couple's retreat to Ethan. Ideal time given how tough your work has been lately." I put my briefcase down more forcefully than I should have. "In fact, tomorrow I'm taking a plane to Singapore. Complications from a merger." The room's temperature appeared to drop by 10 degrees. Ethan's expression grew gloomy. "Tomorrow? Did you intend to inform me? I only recently learned. 2 weeks, possibly 3. Marjorie gave a tongue click. "Dear, oh dear, the timing is bad. I just got an agreement from Ethan to stay here while my condo is being refurbished. But don't worry, I'll look after him well while you're away." I jerked my head up. "Your apartment? The one you just renovated last year for a fortune?" "Mold," she said with ease. "What a horrible..." Ethan's unusual interest in his coffee mug caught my attention. "Additionally, when did you intend to inform me of this arrangement?" I reasoned. That since you were so busy, he avoided looking at me and wandered off. "I have to pack." With trembling hands, I retrieved my suitcase and made my way upstairs. I heard Ethan's footsteps behind me a few minutes later. He said, "You're being unjust." "She is, my mom. She requires assistance." Last Christmas and the summer before, I continued folding clothes because I didn't trust myself to look at him as though she needed assistance. "Ethan, there's always a catastrophe. She always finds a way to get involved in our life. Since Dad's death, she has been lonely. 7 years have passed." I turned around. "What about the note she left behind?" I was frozen in my tracks by the sincere bewilderment in his words. I took the paper out and gave it to him. As he read it, his expression altered. "This," slowly he said, "this isn't Mom's handwriting." I grabbed it back and took a closer look. He was correct. Though not exactly the same, the cursive was comparable. Then who? Once more my phone buzzed, a message from an unidentified number. "Taking pleasure in the mayhem? That's not the only source of that." Ethan read over my shoulder and remarked, "Someone's playing games. The cops should be called." However, I had an epiphany. The merger paperwork that were disclosed. Fake note. Marjorie's unexpected appearance. It was too well planned and flawless. I said, "I have to call," and I started to dial Naomi's phone. "Ethan, you might want to question your mother about Margaret Evans while I'm away." His face turned white. The previous CFO of my company, Margaret Evans, mysteriously quit following a string of personal problems. I was presently in the same position. "What is the connection between Margaret and Mom?" I closed my suitcase with a zip. "Inquire with her. Ask her why she has been having lunch with the CEO of our largest rival while you're at it." I glimpsed Marjorie in the corridor, her face impassive, as I dragged my luggage past him. This time, though, I saw something that I had previously overlooked. The subtle aroma of her perfume, just like the one we had in our bedroom a few days prior. I underestimated the size of the game. I had finished playing defense. My plan was to go to Singapore, but Marjorie's shadow followed me all the way around the world. Naomi's urgent video call arrived while I was in my hotel room going over merger documentation. Without introducing herself, she remarked, "You need to check your joint accounts." I opened our banking app now, my hands shaking. At first, the figures didn't make sense. I didn't identify many of recent transfers. "Big ones. How did you find out?" I asked, my throat constricted. "Because I just showed your mother-in-law a $1 million property. Lila, she's paying cash for it," stated that Ethan would be taken by surprise. The room began to swirl. I looked at the dates of the transfers. They were ideal for my business travels. There were moments when I was too preoccupied to realize our accounts were getting depleted. Another text message from the unidentified number buzzed. I made 3 calls to Ethan, directly to voicemail. I texted at last, "Where's the money?" Hours later, he responded, "Our mother is investing in our future. When you go home, we can discuss it." I laughed until my stomach ached. Our future. Correct. I had to bury myself in my work, so I left early the following morning to go to the In the merger documents, I notice your name. History is repeated. If you want to know how this ends, give me a call. Before I dialed, I looked at her number for a long time. On the first ring, she responded. Then she said, "Let me guess, Marjorie relocated. How did you?" Because that's how it began for me as well. Her son's busy wife was the source of the mother-in-law's anxiety. Next, the financial assistance. Then there were the rumors. My blood froze. What are the rumors? Check your work email. Insider trading, anonymous tips should be coming at any moment. Almost simultaneously, a message from Victor appeared on my phone. My workspace. We must now talk about a few accusations. I threw up after running to the bathroom. After spending hours defending myself before the board, I discovered an email from our family lawyer when I returned to my hotel that evening. A power of attorney paper signed by Marjorie and dated 3 months ago was hidden among the attachments. She had been granted authority over our shared assets by Ethan. I gave Naomi another call. "Do anything for me, please." Despite everything, I spoke in a calm tone. "Learn as much as you can about Marjorie's post-death financial situation. The numbers don't add up." "I'm already on it," she said. "And you should know something else, Lila. I passed your house today while driving. In the yard is a sign announcing the first sale." I hung up and went to my laptop. I started by moving all of my money from my personal accounts to a different bank. Then, in order to fight rather than make amends, I scheduled a flight home. That night, my phone buzzed one last time. A picture of Marjorie and Ethan having dinner with the CEO of our largest rival, taken by the unidentified number. "Checkmate" was the caption. However, they had committed a critical error. I recognized the document partially visible on their table in the photo's backdrop, our private merger documents. I discovered our leak and sent Victor the picture with a single phrase. I then began typing an email to the legal department of our business. The headline? "Evidence of financial malfeasance and business espionage." Was Marjorie interested in playing chess? All right. However, she had overlooked something crucial. The queen is the strongest piece on the chessboard. The original note that started it all was still in my jacket pocket while I was packing my things for the journey home. Some wives are deserving of their fate. For the first time in days, I grinned. Indeed we do. Not how Marjorie had envisioned. The corporate espionage probe proceeded quickly. Victor had already scheduled an emergency board meeting by the time my airplane touched down. Finding Ethan waiting at the airport was unexpected. As he fell into step next to me, he remarked, "You're making a huge mistake. Mom was attempting to keep us safe." I continued to walk. By taking our money through the sale of business secrets, she was safeguarding our future. Relocating to New York would have been necessary for the merger. Before you could surprise me with it, she found out. I came to a complete halt. My ideal job in New York had been kept under wraps. The board was the only one who knew. "For what length of time?" I inquired. "You've been assisting her in spying on my business for how long?" His silence was sufficient response. It buzzed on my phone. "Board meeting in 30 minutes, Victor. Bring everything you own." "What about Lila?" "If you want it, you can still have the New York job." Ethan was stopped by security in the workplace lobby. Through the glass doors, I observed him arguing with them while he appeared disoriented in his pricey suit, which I had purchased for him on our anniversary. There were several people in the boardroom. With a somber expression, Victor stood at the head of the table. He said, "Mrs. Everett is already here." I briefly believed he was referring to me. Then I noticed Marjorie, smiling triumphantly as she sat quietly among the board members. "I hope it's okay with you," she remarked pleasantly. "I also brought some of my own documents to present." Across the table, she slipped a folder. Printouts of my emails describing private merger information were included, along with dates that precisely corresponded to the information dumps. According to Marjorie, these were discovered on my daughter-in-law's personal laptop, along with proof of significant private trading activity. There was silence in the room. As I became aware of her scheme, I felt the blood drain from my face. She had been doing more than just collecting data. She had been fabricating proof. I began to say, "That's not possible," but Victor held up his hand. He added, "There's more. I can explain the wire transfer issues that Mrs. Everett has also brought to our attention." Finally, he went to offshore accounts. Marjorie grinned broadly. I hate to admit it, but I felt compelled to come forward after learning what Leela was doing. Loyalty to family can only go so far. The irony almost made me laugh. Rather, I took out my phone and listened to the audio I had made in Singapore, which showed Marjorie's voice as clear as day as she talked to our opponent about the specifics of the merger. I remarked, "Interesting timing," as I saw her smile dim, given that these exchanges took place prior to any of the purported emails being received from my laptop. I presented my own proof, including bank records demonstrating the true location of the missing funds, timestamps demonstrating the email's backdating, and Margaret Evans's sworn affidavit regarding Marjorie's prior corporate sabotage. I told her that there are others who are skilled at gathering evidence. The distinction is that mine is genuine. Chaos broke out on the board. "You'll regret this," Marjorie growled as security led her out. "Ethan will never put his family before you." I said, "That's where you're wrong. The day we got married, you were no longer his only family. You simply couldn't believe that." Victor called me later that evening to formally offer me the job in New York. "The way you handled this impressed the board," he remarked. "You are the kind of person we need leading the East Coast Division." I peered out the window of my workplace. Ethan was still sitting in his car in the parking lot, waiting. After 5 years of marriage, I had to decide between the life he wanted me to lead and the one I had created. It was the final buzzing of my phone. One more unidentified number. This time you prevailed. What else are you willing to lose, though? I took up my office phone and erased the message. "I'll take the job, Victor. Sometimes losing everything is necessary to protect oneself. That was a lesson I had to learn the hard way. It was time to teach it to another person now." When Naomi called to alert me to the cars parked outside our house, I should have realized something was off. She said that it appears to be a family reunion, and not a pleasant one. Ethan's whole family, including aunts, uncles, and cousins I hadn't seen since our wedding, was waiting in the living room when I pulled into our driveway. And there was Marjorie, sitting in my favorite seat, holding cord. "Darling," she said as she stood up to meet me. "We've all been quite anxious." It was as though a trap was closing in on the room. The space was dotted with well-placed family photos. "Happy times before my career really got off," Marjorie loved to say, before I changed. What is this?" Ethan refused to look at me when I asked. Sarah, his aunt, spoke first. "We adore you both, which is why we are here. But this circumstance, allegations made against Marjorie, the role in New York, the divorce documents you asked for." Softly, Marjorie added, pulling a manila envelope from next to her chair. I turned to look at Ethan. "I hadn't asked for divorce documents." "I discovered them in your email drafts," he muttered. "Did you not tell me at all?" "The email draft, the one I never sent, but had written in Singapore when I was at my lowest. My personal account had been accessed once more." I showed them the email. "Present the sent date to them." Marjorie gritted her teeth. "The specifics don't matter. This family's healing is what counts." "Family," I chuckled. "Similar to your attempt to accuse me of business espionage." "Or the way you depleted our funds," Ethan cautioned Lila, but I was done being cautious. "Marjorie, let them know. Discuss Margaret Evans with them. Regarding the meetings with competitors, roughly, she cut you off to talk about how success transformed you, about how his wife is pursuing promotions and my son returns home to an empty house. You dare not," she went on. "Show them your phone. Show them Victor's texts whenever you want. The sessions that take place late at night. The journeys." Whispers began to fill the room. I could see the condemnation in their eyes. They already had the story in their heads. "Ethan's uncle said he needed stability, a true family. What about what I require?" I inquired. However, a chorus of worried family members overpowered my voice, all discussing family values, priorities, and decisions. I saw it at that moment. The corridor was lined with stacked moving boxes, Ethan's clothes, kitchen, and pictures are already tagged and packed. When did you intend to inform me of these? I insisted. Ethan remarked, Mom found us a place. Only till everything calms down, until you determine what matters most. The room whirled. 5 years of marriage, reduced to demands and cardboard boxes. Victor buzzed on my phone once again. I need your conclusion by tomorrow regarding New York. Teams are awaiting. I surveyed the space. At these individuals who profess to love me while methodically ruining my life. At my spouse, who would sooner accept his mother's falsehoods than confront reality. Do you want me to make the decision? Finally, I said. All right, I pick myself. I went to our bedroom on foot. I reached for my emergency bag. After Singapore, I packed this one and made my way to the door. Lila waited. Ethan gave a call. We can resolve this. I made one final turn around. What's humorous, do you? In fact, I believed that I was the one fighting the war. However, this complex ambush, this is the appearance of true manipulation. Marjorie, congratulations. I've learned more about retaliation from you than I ever would have imagined. Love sometimes requires making difficult decisions, she said. However, I noticed a glint of doubt in her eyes. No, I replied. Love is not making someone make a decision for you. A text message from an unidentified number appeared on my phone as I was leaving. Everything I mentioned about you is validated by your flight. Well, I typed back with a smile. Not jogging, merely receiving reinforcements. The conflict had not ended. It was simply shifting to a new battlefield, and I would be prepared this time. My apartment door was unlocked when I returned home 3 weeks into my new existence in New York. Marjorie was sitting at my kitchen counter inside. As I flipped through a pile of documents, I instantly recognized the reports on her background from my private investigator. Fascinating reading, she remarked without raising her gaze. However, I'm shocked that you overlooked the most fascinating aspect. I stood back, my phone ready to dial security. How did you enter? The leasing application still lists Ethan as your emergency contact. It's incredible what a worried mother-in-law tale can achieve. I felt sick to my stomach. I had been quite cautious about everything else, but I had overlooked that one item. He's where? I inquired. Probably still fighting with the doorman downstairs. He is unaware that I copied the key. At last, she raised her gaze. You've been quite busy, investigating my accounts, speaking with Margaret Evans, and even locating the former business associates of my late spouse. You ought to go. However, the excellent part is just around the corner. She produced a certain document. You see, I was looking into you while you were looking at me. Did you know that when you were 12, your father did not truly leave your family? There was a slight tilt to the room. What are you discussing? He made an attempt to reach you several times. However, your mom, Marjorie grinned. To put it mildly, she had her own views. She crossed the counter and slid an envelope. There were dozens of letters in my father's handwriting within. They all came back unopened. What you uncover in your mother's attic is amazing. Softly, Marjorie said. As I read the first letter, my palms trembled, because she is genuinely driven to help shield her daughter from the same mistake. Only a few months after his departure, it was dated, describing everything, pleading to come see me, birthday greetings, congrats for graduating, and even a letter from the previous year were all present. My mom would never aid me. You would be shocked at what individuals would do if they believe they are shielding their kids from harm. You're so sure of what's best. In the name of independence, I'm willing to destroy everything. The door of the flat opened. Ethan entered. When he saw me, he stopped short. Silently, he whispered, "You look thin." I was unable to respond. The weight of the letters felt like 1,000 pounds in my palms. "Give me a second," Marjorie said, assembling her belongings. Only a few months after his departure, it was dated. Describing everything, pleading to come see me, birthday greetings, congrats for graduating, and even a letter from the previous year were all present. My mom would never aid me. You would be shocked at what individuals would do if they believe they are shielding their kids from harm. Marjorie got up. You know, You're not all that different from her. You're so sure of what's best. In the name of independence, I'm willing to destroy everything." The door of the flat opened. Ethan entered. When he saw me, he stopped short. Silently, he whispered, "You look thin." I was unable to respond. The weight of the letters felt like 1,000 pounds in my palms. "Give me a second," Marjorie said, assembling her belongings. "You also assisted her in burying the body?" "Naomi, my phone buzzed." "Activate the news, right now." My TV screen scrolled across the business headlines. An investigation into market manipulation has begun at a significant trading company. Several executives were identified. On the list was my name. "This may happen," Mom said. Ethan spoke quietly. I gazed upon my father's letters. Oh, at the news stories, at the familiar stranger's face of my husband. Everything I had constructed, everything I had held dear, was falling apart. "Get out," I muttered. "Lila, leave." Upon his departure, in my dim apartment I sat, surrounded by the wreckage of my meticulously planned life. It was the final buzzing of my phone, an unidentified number. You get it now. Certain things are more substantial than others. Betrayals can run in families. Well, one thing she was correct about. It has to do with family. Not in the manner she had assumed. I did not come up with the idea for the annual Everett Family Foundation Gala. Naomi owned it. "It's ideal," she had stated. "The pet project of Marjorie. Her entire social network at one location. Additionally, I have something unexpected for her." At the moment, that item was in my purse. 30 years' worth of financial records, which had taken weeks to gather, were on a USB drive. Documents that revealed the true whereabouts of her late husband's wealth. Near the stage, I saw Marjorie holding court, gorgeous, in high-end black, portraying the distraught mother in front of an understanding audience. Standing next to her, Ethan was uneasy in his tuxedo. "Are you ready?" Naomi showed up at my elbow and requested. "Nearly." I took one final look at my phone. My father's email was still there, sent when I had finally gotten in touch. "Control is sometimes confused with love. Keep them from winning." Marjorie anticipated me. The pet project of Marjorie, her entire social network at one location. Additionally, I have something unexpected for her. At the moment, that item was in my purse. 30 years' worth of financial records, which had taken weeks to gather, were on a USB drive. Documents that revealed the true whereabouts of her late husband's wealth. Near the stage, I saw Marjorie holding court, gorgeous in high-end black, portraying the distraught mother in front of an understanding audience. Standing next to her, Ethan was uneasy in his tuxedo. "Are you ready?" Naomi showed up at my elbow and requested. Nearly. I took one final look at my phone. My father's email was still there, sent when I had finally gotten in touch. "Control is sometimes confused with love. Keep them from winning." Marjorie anticipated me. Everyone missed the true story because they were preoccupied with the alleged market manipulation at my company. Over the previous 7 years, the foundation's finances have been steadily depleted. They all pointed to a single individual. Marjorie reached for her wine glass, her hand shaking. "You can't prove it." "I do, in fact. Your spouse documented everything. This includes your schemes to get him falsely accused of embezzlement before, 2, his fortuitous heart attack. The glass broke on the marble floor after slipping out of her fingers. "You were desperate to keep Ethan under control for that reason, weren't you?" I went on. "You could continue to conceal the funds as long as he served as chairman of the foundation. That is, until I began to inquire." "Mom," Ethan's tone faltered, "is this accurate?" "Obviously not. She is attempting to ruin our family. How did you ruin Margaret Evans?" I took out my phone and pressed play. The room echoed with Marjorie's voice. "Either discreetly step down or let the world know who your son's real father is." Whispers broke out among the audience. Ethan stumbled back as if he had been struck. 7 years, I muttered. 7 years of deceit, theft, and manipulation while portraying the distraught widow. Marjorie hissed, "You don't get it. I did everything for my family. No. Through the confusion came Ethan's voice. You did everything to gain control. The crowd was already being moved by security. However, Marjorie straightened her back before they could get to her, gave me a direct look. Do you believe you have won? That you're superior to me because of this? Bitterly, she laughed. Look around, my love. You're by yourself. No family, no husband. Here's where you're mistaken. I gave the rear of the room a nod. Victor's position alongside the FBI agents we had been in touch with weeks prior. I'm not by myself. I simply made more thoughtful family decisions than you did. Ethan grabbed my arm as they escorted her out. I ought to have noticed it. Ought to have trusted you. Yes, I said, you ought to have. Can we? No. I took his hand away gently. Certain things are unfixable. However, they can teach us something. An unknown call buzzed on my phone one last time. I didn't read it this time, though, so I erased it. Not all communications required a reply. The city lights outside gleamed as if justice had been done at last. Naomi was waiting with 2 glasses and a bottle of champagne. Pouring, she said to her relatives. Thinking of my father's email made me grin. To make our own decisions. I was back in our old neighborhood 6 months after the gala, assisting Naomi with staging a house for sale. It was no ordinary house. Marjorie owned it. As she placed flowers in the lobby, Naomi remarked on the irony. You're essentially tidying up her mess for the final time. It seemed smaller than I had recalled. The hallways were lined with evidence boxes awaiting the FBI's last search. Perfect facade concealing perfect falsehoods. Family portraits still hung crookedly on the walls in the living room. I received a text from my father. Lunch next week, and my phone chimed. We were constructing something new out of the rubble of what had been lost, little by little. It was genuine, even though it wasn't flawless. The doorbell rang. Ethan appeared older in some way as he stood on the porch. More of himself, he said. I thought I'd find you here. Mom wanted to visit you. I hadn't gone to see Marjorie in jail, hadn't answered her correspondence. I hesitated, though, because of something in Ethan's voice. She's dying, he said. Cancer. She has been well known for months, even earlier. Everything. The humor in the universe was perverted. Marjorie's well-styled hair had turned white and stringy, and she appeared diminutive in her gray uniform at the prison. She didn't grin when she saw me. I guess you believe this to be justice, she said. Justice was not the reason I came. No. She gave a feeble laugh. So why have you come here? To comprehend. She remained silent for a while. I felt as though I had lost everything when Ethan's father passed away. Authority, prestige, and command. Everything was lost. Then I saw you, advancing your career and removing my son from my presence. I was unable to lose again. You ruined everything then. What was mine, I guarded. She cleared her throat. Or believed I was. It's funny how fear causes us to confuse possession with affection. My father's remarks in that email sprang to mind. Control is sometimes confused with love. Are you content? Abruptly she asked. In your new life? I said. I'm free. It's better, but it's not the same. Slowly she nodded. I used to be like you, but I never told anyone. Ambitious, autonomous. Then I let my dread to transform me into this. I got up to go, but she grabbed my hand. She had paper-thin skin. She whispered that I was going to reveal everything the night I left that first note. About Ethan's father, about the foundation. I had had enough of the falsehoods. However, I later realized how simple it would be to place the blame on you. Why now? Because the game I didn't even know I was playing was won by you. She let go of my hand. Lila, don't become me. Avoid allowing triumph to be seen as validation. Ethan waited by his car outside. Are you all right? Are you? He gave a shrug. Arriving. The foundation is getting better. I attend treatment, dating a new person. Good, I answered with sincerity. She kept every story concerning your accomplishments, he continued, even when incarcerated, I believe. In her own way, I believe she admired you. I considered fear. Concerning control. On the fine distinction between possession and love, about how, if you allow it, revenge can overwhelm you. Naomi was finishing up, ready to leave Marjorie's house behind. "Are you prepared to end this chapter?" she asked, her voice steady yet tinged with curiosity. I paused, taking one final look at the empty rooms that once held so many secrets, fears, and whispers of things I could no longer control. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was freeing. No more hidden truths. No more fear. "In fact," I said, breaking the quiet, "I think I'll buy it." Naomi's eyes widened, her disbelief clear. "You're kidding," she said, searching my face for a hint of humor. "Not to live in," I clarified, a smile tugging at my lips. "To turn it into a hub for women's businesses. All of this, everything that's happened, should lead to something good." Later that evening, as I stood on my balcony in New York, watching the city lights twinkle with endless possibilities, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I was never as strong as you were. Make good use of it." This time, I didn't delete the message. Some words deserve to stay, not for the pain they caused, but for the lessons they carried with them, lessons that shaped who I was becoming. As the city buzzed below, alive with opportunity, I realized something profound. Family isn't just about marriage or blood. It's about the choices we make, the people we surround ourselves with, and the courage to choose ourselves, even when it's the hardest decision of all. If you want to dive deeper into stories like this, be sure to subscribe to SoraBook for more gripping tales. Don't miss the next chapter. It just might change the way you see the world.